Hello everyone and welcome back to XML. Today we have a new topic in XML which is called XML DOM. If you studied JavaScript, we covered DOM, Document Object Model, before in JavaScript. So this is basically a reminder of what we finished last semester. The new topic for today is XML Document Object Model. XML Document Object Model. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we will use a file that we used last lab in lab number 4, which is called employment1.xml. This file here. If I open this file, you will notice that I have a root element that's called staff, and I have multiple elements inside the staff root elements for different employees. We will discuss that in more details. This file is on Blackboard, so instead of wasting your time typing all of these text in the employment1.xml, I already uploaded this file on Blackboard. So if we look here, if I go to Blackboard under Lab 5, this is the file here. This file here. All right, I will close this one here. So now we know where is the file location. It is under Lab 5, employment1.xml. Keep in mind that I will post multiple labs this week. I will post lab 6, 7, 8, and 9. But the first file that you will need will be located under Lab 5. So let's go ahead and look on what I have here in the first file, which is the employment.xml. Basically, you will open the file in Notepad++. If you have Notepad++, you should be able to open the file. Make sure that you comment as usual. Looking at what we have this week, you will need to create the load xml.javascript. So now you will learn something. Might be new for some of you, but if you took JavaScript last semester, that should be just a review, nothing new. To know or to understand this week's lecture, you need to know XML, you need to know HTML, and JavaScript. That is why you will, when you look here, you will notice that I created a JavaScript file that has some JavaScript statements. And these are the labs that we will create this week. So we have lab 5, lab 6, lab 7, lab 8, and lab 9. So let's go ahead and look at the first file that you don't have to create. The only thing you do here, you just comment. Right, let's look at this file. This file has a root element that's called staff. And staff has employee elements. So that's the first employee. Now that's the second employee. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way until the end. If you look at the end here, that's the last employee inside the staff root node. All right, so let's look at employee. Employee is called a parent node to these nodes here, to these nodes. These nodes here are called children. So this is the parent node. That is the first child. That is the last child. If you go from the first child to the child below it, and then you need to go to name again, you will say I need to go to the previous sibling. Or if you want to go from name to the next element, you will say next sibling, because they are at the same level. Name is at the same level, department, position, and the parent of all of these nodes here is called employee. That is called the parent node, and that's called the root node. All right. So now you will see that name has some text. So this is a node by itself. What is the value of this node? The value is Alice Ashman. Right, now you will notice that I have an attribute that's called status. Right? So keep in mind that this is called a node. This is called a node. The value of this text node, this is also here, this is called also a text node. This is called also a text node. The value of this text node, the text that you see here. So that's basically to get you started. You already know that from first tutorials in XML. So let's look at what we are really going to accomplish today. If we look at the first lab, in this lab here, lab5.html, in reality, you will not need the XML file now. So I just put it in lab 5, so you have it at the first lab, just in case you need it. You can copy some of the elements and paste it for this variable. So this is here. This code here means that I'm working with an HTML file that is HTML5. Okay, that's the HTML tag, and that's the body tag. Alright, so now I have some script in here. So I need to start using JavaScript. So to start JavaScript, if you don't know JavaScript, you just open, please pay attention with me here. You open a script tag and then you close your script tag. That's the first step. Right? That means that you will start typing some kind of script in your HTML file here. Right? So now I am declaring a variable. This is a variable here. It's called my XML elements. And then equals, I will give it some text here. So between, if you put quotation, it means anything that will go in here will be a text. That means that my XML element is a string variable. So that's the first thing that you need to keep in mind. What if I need to concatenate, add items to my XML elements? So my XML elements equals the old one, which is this one here, plus add another text to it. So I will add the first child, which is a child element, which is name, and then the next sibling, which is department. You keep doing that until you reach the end of one employee. So basically I need to add one employee to a string variable. So what is our objective after we create a string variable that will take the elements for one employee only? Right, now I need to load this string element. How do you load it? Right, so this is an if statement. So else if JavaScript. If you don't know JavaScript, you need to go back to your old lectures and look at how to use if else. So what is my condition for my if statement? The condition here, I'm looking for DOM parser. It means that if the browser is using the DOM parser, do this code here. If something else, which is in our scenario here is going to be Internet Explorer, use the code that you see in here. So basically what I'm doing in here, I am creating an object that is called, in this scenario the object is called parser. In this scenario the object is called XML document, and then I said here XML document equals the object I created dot parse from a string, and then you take the string that you created at the very beginning here and you specify the type, which is a text/XML. It's that simple. So basically this section here, if you are working with let's say Firefox, Chrome and any other browser, and if the browser is not using the DOM parser, and in this scenario it will be let's say Internet Explorer, we will create a new object that is type of ActiveX object, right? And you pass it Microsoft.xml DOM and this is for the DOM parser that Microsoft Internet Explorer is using. All right, so and then you specify the async attribute to false, and then you will load the string variable that you created up top here. Okay, clear? So here, if it is Internet Explorer, that's how you load your string variable that you created. If it is any other browser that is using DOM parser, that's how you do it. You create an object that's called parser equals new DOM parser, and then you say you XML documents. You create an object that's called XML doc, and then you pass it the string variable that you created at the very beginning here. All right, if this is successful, it means that you will be able to reach these statements. If your code is broken here, this statement will not get executed. So what does this statement do? This statement will basically print the text that you see in here in the browser, which means that the object was created successfully, or the document, the string here was loaded successfully. Nothing else will appear. So now if I run, I will just drag it on top of Safari, for example here, XML string is loaded to the XML DOM object. So the XML string that I created now is loaded to the XML DOM object. How? This is for any browser that is using DOM parser. This is for the browser that is not using DOM parser here, which is in this case Microsoft Internet Explorer. All right, and then closing your script, close the body tag, close the HTML. You save this file here as lab file, lab5, and then you upload it to Blackboard. So we're done with the first lab. Now let's look at the second lab, lab number 6. All right, what is going on in this lab? In this lab, instead of loading XML string, I will load an XML document. So we have a string that we created. Now we have a document, and guess where do I get this document from? It is inside, yes, you're right, lab number 5, and that's the employee 1.xml. All right, going back here to lab 6. So this is HTML5. This is the beginning of my HTML tag. This is my body. I will start a JavaScript code scripts, and then close my script, close my body, close my HTML tag, and then I need to load an XML document. If you are working with Safari, Firefox, Chrome, you will use this condition. So you will check for this condition. If window.xml HTTP request, if that's true, if the browser is using this object here to load, you will create an object that is type of XML HTTP request. If not, and in this scenario, Internet Explorer 5 and 6, you will create an object using the ActiveX object, and then you pass Microsoft.xml HTTP. All right. So now, after creating the object, in either case, either Safari, Firefox, Advanced Internet Explorer 7, Chrome, in this scenario here, you create an XML HTTP object. All right. If none of these browsers here, but older browser here, you create the same object name, but you don't use the XML HTTP request, you use ActiveX objects. All right? I know this is a new topic that we are covering, but you will get used to it, and that is the beginning of getting into Ajax. We will cover Ajax later on, but let's look what is happening here. So using the same object I created, XML HTTP, I need to open a file, which is my XML file, using the method get, and that is the name of the file. Then I need to send this request to the server using the .send method, and after that I will create an object that is called XML Document equals the XML HTTP dot response XML. So that will set the response and assign it to XML document. Now my document, my parsed document is ready for me to process, so I can run some JavaScript code. So now once I parse the document, it means that I have access to most of the elements that are inside this document. Right, so if that's successful, print that XML document loaded to DOM object. Right, now let's run this code. First, let me save it. I saved it. Now I will go to lab 6, run it. XML document loaded successfully. Perfect. So let's close this one. Close this one and close this one. Let's go back. Right, we're almost there. It's running quickly. Now for this code here, if you studied JavaScript before, you should know that you can take JavaScript code from the HTML document and put it in a file that has the extension loadxml.javascript. So that's basically the same thing. But for easiness, you just take the JavaScript code and put it in a different file, in a separate file. And how do you access this file? Alright, so now let's go back to lab 6. This code here, we just explained it. We know what is going on in this code. I am creating an object for loading an XML document, right? Now I need to check the browser. If the browser is Internet Explorer 7, Chrome, Safari, any of the browsers that are available, create an object using this statement here. If it is older version of Internet Explorer, create an object using this statement here. Now we need to open the file, the XML file, you need to send it, you need to load the XML document to the XML DOM object. How? Here. So now it is parsed and ready to process, ready to run some kind of commands that you will see in a minute. Alright, so now instead of having or cluttering your HTML file with all of this code here, you can just take this entire code without the script tag and then put it in a JavaScript file. How do you know this is a JavaScript file? It has JS at the end. Right, look here, I created a function that's called load XML document. This function takes the XML document, the document name of my XML file. Okay, what is happening here? Now you should be able to explain that on your own. If I have a condition, older browser, newer browser, Internet Explorer 7, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, create an XML HTTP request object. If it is older one, i.e. 5 and 6, create XML HTTP request object using the ActiveX object here. And now you need to open it, send it, and get or set the response. But in this, because this is a method, you need to return something so I can use it in my HTML file later on. So let's go back to lab 7. How do you call this file here inside lab 7? That's the statement here. You open a script tag, you specify the source to be load xml.javascript. and then you close your script tag. Okay, right, inside your body element of your HTML file, lab7.html, you need to create another script. So what goes in here? We will put JavaScript code in this section. So what is happening in this code? I said here XML document, that's the XML object, right? That will load the XML DOM object. How? You call the method name that you created here, which is called load XML document. You call its name load XML document, and then you pass it the XML file, and then you terminate by semicolon. Right? If that's successful, now give me a printout that says you should place some JavaScript code here. So now let's run this lab. You should place some JavaScript here, so it means it is working. Yeah, we'll go back here. If I test it on Firefox, it is working. You should place some JavaScript code here. So it is working in multiple browsers. So it means that my code is working fine. Now let's go look at, so after you finish lab 7, here is what you need to submit. You need to submit this file. You need to submit the required file, which is JavaScript. You need to comment it. You need to make sure that you have your comment section. And you need to upload also the XML file for lab number 7, because JavaScript file is required, XML employee 1 file is required, and lab 7, of course, you have to upload it. Make sure that you comment every one of them. Okay, I know this week has a lot of labs to finish, but we are almost at the end of our semester, and we need to make sure that we have enough labs to get good grades. Now let's look at lab number 7. In this lab here, you will notice that same thing, HTML5, my HTML tag, my head element, and then body tag, open a script so I can have some JavaScript. So now, I will not just explain this part. Now you know what is happening here. So now you are planning on creating what? Creating and loading an XML document and parse it, right? So once you load it to the XML DOM object, you should be able to run some JavaScript commands. Some of you might say, well, instead of doing that, I can put a script tag here and specify the source to go to the JavaScript. You can do that, of course, but I need here to make it clear to everyone what is happening. So I'm loading a file that's called employee1.xml. Right, and then I will send this request to the server, and then I will set the response to the XML doc object. Now I am ready to process this XML document. So that is my JavaScript code. So let's see here what is going on with this code. I will create a variable that says employee name equals my XML doc object that has the parsed XML document, all right, dot get element by tag name, and then which element am I looking for? I am looking for the element name. So that will put me on that element. How many name element do I have in employee 1? I have, that's the first one, that's the second one, that's the third one. So since I have more than one element, I will have an array of elements. So going back to lab number 8, since you have an array of elements, your employee name is an array. So I need to access only the first element of this array, which is element index 0 dot child nodes 0, right, dot node value. So let's look at the XML file. This is the first name, right? This is the child node 0, right? That's the first child node. What is the value of this child node? Alice Ashman. So when I run this in my Firefox or Safari, I should get that name. Why? Because that's the first element. So I will take lab 8, run it. Here, Alice Ashman. That's now you are getting the power of XML document or DOM, document object model. Okay, now let's go back here and look at something new. Right? Someone might say I need to change 0 to 1 and then change child node to 0 because that's the first child node, which is the text. So now I will save this, run it again. Now I get a different name. Where is Jeff Bester come from? If you look here to the XML file, this is the first one that has index of 0. This is the second one that has index of 1. And the first child node has an index of 0. So that is Jeff Bester. Now you know how to move from one place to another place inside your XML document. And that is going to give you power. Okay, now let's look at the last lab. Lab number 9. All right, for lab number 9, same thing. I am loading an XML document and then I am opening it. I am sending the request to the server and then I am creating an XML DOM object. I'm setting the response to that object, which is called XML Doc. So that is important. That is the parsed XML object that I need to work with. So now I will create a variable. Right, in Java you can say var and then the variable name equals the parsed XML document, which is XML doc dot get element by tag name. All right. Now I will create a for loop, and I will say as long as I equals 0, I less than employee name dot length, the array size. All right. Increment I. Print the following. Print all of the names inside, because this will start from name index number 0, number 1, number 2, 3, 4, all the way until the end of my name array that I just created. It will give me what? The first item in that element, and then it will give me the node value. And then I will put a line break. So let's run this code. Let's make sure that we save it first and then run it, and voila, look at that. All of the names. Here is Alice Ashman, here is Jeff. Now you know how to access all of the names inside your XML document. So now I will leave you, this is optional. You can do it, or if you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can change the child node here from 0 maybe to make it number 1, for example, and then save and then run again lab number 9. All right, now let's look here, element name, because I don't have, the only one that I have is what is 0 index. I don't have any other child node underneath name except the text node. That is why it didn't give me anything. Now you should be able to change your code to something else since this is the case. So put this back to 0, and then instead of looking for name, let's look at the XML file. What do I have? I have departments. Let's say you are trying to look for department. I will copy that from here. I will copy department, go back here, and then I will look for the tag name that is not called name, it is called department. Now I will save that and I will run my lab 9 one more time. Now I get all of the departments inside my XML file. So now this is easy, right? This is easy. Now we can use it for accessing any section that you have inside your XML file. Same thing, you can go to your XML file, look, okay, well, now I need to get all of the phone numbers that I have. You can get all of the phone numbers as well. And if you want to get the position, let's say you would like to look for the position. So you take the position, that is the tag name. That is the tag name that you have in here. So you take this name, you go back to lab 9, and then you change the department. Instead of looking for get element by tag name and you type department, now you put something else which is position, and then save the file and run it one more time. Once you run the file, look what you get. You got all of the positions inside this XML file. Don't you think that document object model is powerful? Yes, it is powerful. That's what you can do in it. Imagine if you can pull data from an XML file using this technique. Thank you, and when we meet in our next video, we will cover something new. Please remember to finish this week assignment because we have many labs in it. Thank you, and I will see you in future videos. Bye-bye.